I will now recognize the Honorable Maote. Maote.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Greetings to the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF, who is joining us virtually. Greetings to the officials of the EFF National Chair, commissars and fighters. House Chair, the year 2023 marks 10 years since the formation of the economic emancipation movement in South Africa and the African continent. It was 10 years ago when our people responded to the clarion call on what is to be done. After a thorough and correct assessment, we realized that the post-1994 government under the ANC had weakened its capacity to provide services, drive economic growth and development. As a result, we correctly proposed the nationalization of mines, banks and other strategic sectors of the economy without compensation. We insisted on the need to build state and government capacity, which would lead to the abolishment of tenders. We called for massive protected industrial development to create millions of sustainable jobs, including the introduction of minimum wages. House Chair, we did all this because we understood that a robust development state should necessarily have the political power and technical capacity to give developmental mandates to state-owned entities. Today, we celebrate 10 years of advocating for the building of state capacity, a decade of unbroken commitment to a developmental state, 10 years of unwavering dedication to the idea of a developmental state, and definitely a 10 years of unbroken struggle for economic freedom. As we commemorate this 10 years, House Chair, since the formation of the EFF, we invite progressive businesses to join us in this celebration and contribute to the revolution. House Chair, the EFF rejects the proposed 316 million budget for the Department of Public Enterprises. We are of the belief that a department that was created to facilitate privatization of strategic owned companies under apartheid cannot drive investment, cannot drive productivity, and definitely cannot drive transformation because it is the same state-owned company that it wishes to privatize. The current confusion around the roles and responsibilities between the Minister of Public Enterprises, the Minister of Minerals and Energy, and the Minister of Electricity Tourism is a clear indication that the DPE should not exist as a department. Our firm proposal, House Chair, is that South African Airways and Transnet and the now collapsed South African Express should be under the oversight of the Department of Transport, DNEL under Defense oversight, Eskom and Alexco under the oversight of Minerals and Energy, and the South African Forestry Company, SAFCOL, under the Department of Forestry. Having one minister as the shareholder representative of government is neither sustainable nor practical. We should have multiple shareholder representatives. These are proposals, House Chair, we have been making since our arrival in Parliament in 2014, and they remain superior, by the way. Honorable members, allow me to turn to the crisis of the collapse of SOEs and electricity blackouts. Chair, it's clear that the minister was deployed to DPE to cause and fast-track the collapse of state-owned entities, frustrate all of us, and then turn around and declare that the same SOEs are not working and should therefore be privatized. This tactic of privatization, driven by greed, ignores all other national interests. The minister has got no interest in the survival of Eskom. We stated in 2019 that since his appointment as the minister, he led a racist project to undermine Africans at SOEs, reinforcing the falsehood that Africans cannot manage strategic and complex entities. He appointed a person who failed to manage beverage packaging, but was expected to comprehend the complex task of managing electricity generation that runs 24 hours, 365 days a year. He repeated the same at Transnet, DNEL, SAA, and Alexco, appointing matriculants because they are white or because otherwise they are puppets. Today, House Chair, none of these entities are functional. Eskom cannot generate the required electricity to supply dependable and affordable electricity to all. We are in a permanent load shedding mode, which is killing businesses, jobs, and livelihoods. Our people wake up in the dark, go to work in the dark, and come back home to darkness. Transnet trains are not moving. Harbors are congested. Goods get stuck at the harbor for over 7 weeks. And Transnet issues a letter confirming and declaring their own inefficiencies and incompetence to the whole world. We know these are the attempts to create chaos so that they can privatize. Today, Dinel cannot deliver on its projects and fail to pay employees' salaries. Alexco is riddled with inefficiencies and corruption. And top of everything, House Chair, you have a suspended DG who tells anyone who cares to listen that the minister is corrupt. And to this day, nothing has happened to the minister. If anything, he continues with his agenda of collapsing these SOEs. We cannot support a proposed budget for the deliberate sabotage of our national and food security. Chair, we want to make it very clear today in this House that we reject the proposed budget of the DPE. We have made substantive and practical proposals to fix load shedding, repair Transnet, mend Dinel and other SOEs, but there appears to be no interest in rectifying these organizations. House Chair, our people are suffering, dear Minister. Our people need jobs. Our people are hungry. The sun rises and sets with no hope of ever changing their lives. Perhaps we must take this opportunity, Minister, to remind you about the mandate of this Department of Public Enterprise, because we believe that we have abandoned the mandate, the vision and the mission of this department. Let us tell you, it is meant to create an enabling environment in which SOEs add real economic value by focusing on operational excellence, commercial viability, and fiscal prudence. This will drive developmental objectives, industrialization, job creation, and skills development. Sadly so, you have abandoned all this, Minister. You have gone astray. Instead of creating jobs, you are laying off employees. Instead of industrialization, you are privatizing. This is your legacy. You will be remembered as the Minister of Load Shedding, the Minister of Darkness. Our advice to you, Minister, is to do the honorable thing and resign with immediate effect. Our people can't take it anymore. Your continued stay in this department means another day of misery to our people. How long must our people perish?
Thank you very much, Honorable Maote.
Poverty.
Your time is now up. Thank you.
You have failed.
Your time is up. Honorable members, there is a monitor on the left hand, on your left side of this podium. Once it becomes red, be careful, please, because the house is too small. When I say the time is up, some don't hear from there. Thank you.
The next speaker is Honorable Imam Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. While we in South Africa experience load shedding for 2, 4, and 6 hours a day, people of Palestine have no electricity for most of the day, deprived and discontinued by the apartheid Israeli government who deliberately withholds electricity or energy supply to the Palestinian people. And yet there are people in this very house that will support the atrocities that are committed by the Israeli government. Now, let me at the outset say that the National Freedom Party will support this budget vote. Not that we are entirely happy and satisfied with what is going on. Chairperson or Minister, I had a chat with the Minister of Finance the other day. And according to him, there's not one state-owned company that is providing any revenue to the fiscus. This is how bad the situation is. On the issue of Eskom, I think we are quite satisfied and convinced that this problem will take the best part of 9 to 10 years to sort out. Any indication that we'll have uninterrupted supply of energy in the 1 or 2 years from today is just a pipe dream. It's clearly not going to happen. What we need in South Africa is to build more coal-fired power stations and also concurrently put in more, deal with renewable energy. China is building almost two every week at this point in time, coal-fired power stations. And I'm not sure why we in such a hurry to move from one extreme to the other. On the issue, yes, indeed, there is climate change, but your people will die with no food. The businesses are closing. People have got no electricity. Your water is being affected, so you might die even without that. So we have a problem. Yes, I agree with you. But I think we can ensure, and I think Minister of Energy has made it very clear, you need a base load when it comes to coal. And that's what all other countries are doing. The United States say to you they'll get rid of it in 2054, but we are in a hurry to get rid of it in a month. Where's the common sense in that? I don't understand. On the issue of SAA, through you, Chairperson Minister, we still have not received an explanation why was an entire fleet of SAA, which we were told were freehold, was sold by this Coleman Andrews to his own company and then released again to SAA. To date, we've never received an explanation. We'd love to know exactly what is going on there. Another thing I want to say, Minister, Denel is the pride and joy of this country. Let's save Denel at any cost. Denel had a reputation next to none internationally in arms and ammunition. Look at who is benefiting today. The United States arms turnover was 7-fold more last year than any other country in the world. So, you know, while we're supporting this, we believe a lot of work needs to be done.
Honorable,
But I think a private
Honorable
partnership
Shaky
will
Ma'am,
work. Thank you
time
very
is
much.
up.
NFP supports this budget.
okay. Just on time, the Honorable Minister. Let's welcome the Honorable Minister. You are not so generous, Honorable Minister. They left nothing for you except 5 minutes. 5 minutes,
7.
7, eh?
So Chairperson, thank you for adjusting from 5 to 7. It's very clear, as the Honorable Mkwanazi was suggesting, that facts and politicking are really poor bedfellows. Because the one thing that, whilst you want the ANC and the DPE to confess inverted commas to all sorts of things, if there was an examiner in this room to examine your election speeches, you would have failed absolutely miserably as a collective. Secondly, the shocking thing about all the presentations here is the collective amnesia that you demonstrate for the South African public. Zondo didn't take place.
Keep
Corruption
it low,
didn't
keep it
take
low.
place.
Honorable
None of
members, keep it low.
None of you captured municipalities or municipal entities. None of you were part of coalitions in various metros. None of you are responsible for tenders being allocated in different places. If you really want to talk facts, let's talk about them. And that happened on the DA's watch in many of these institutions. And hopefully there will be a similar Zondo Commission one day to discuss and to expose the role of the DA, the IFP, the UDM, and the EFF in the way in which municipal tenders were shared. Just like the way the book was paid for.
Oh, keep it low,
So,
honorable
Chairperson-
members. At least we can regular, but keep it low, not that high, please.
Yeah, the truth, Chairperson, is very difficult to face. But of course, we live in a period of fake news and all sorts of cooked up stories. So it's not surprising at all. But let me remind you, it was an ANC member in 2017 of the Public Enterprises Committee who initiated the Eskom inquiry. But you think that a certain CEO is the first person to talk about corruption in Eskom? It's well recorded. The question isn't how much more you want to expose it. The question is, how do you want to correct it? And that is what this government is about. Of course, honorable.
No, honorable, to be fair, honorable members, please don't drown the speaker. As a belief.
Chairperson, theatrics and facts also are strange bedfellows. They don't get together. So you can have all sorts of verbiage on this platform, but no facts at all to back up any suggestion whatsoever. No solutions provided. There's load shedding, but what do we actually do about it? If one looks at Nkosi Buthelezi, if we look at Nkosi Buthelezi, he comes from KwaZulu-Natal. The key railway line that takes coal to Richards Bay cuts through the province that he and I come from. What has he mobilized to make sure that communities don't disrupt the rail operations of that particular community? Nothing. Nobody has shared with us a vision for SOEs. No.
Sorry, Minister.
Yes,
Honorable
sure.
Minister. A minute. Honorable Buthelezi.
Thank you, Chair. May I kindly ask for a point of privilege and address you for a moment?
There's no privilege. No privilege granted, nothing like that. Honorable Minister.
I'm why?
So the only solution we have coming from opposition incorporated is privatize, or on the other hand, nationalize, so that more plundering can actually take place. And the day anybody can
Honorable
show,
members, you're too active, but keep it low, please. Yeah, no, keep it low. No,
oh
no
yes,
problem.
I'm angry too.
Keep it low, keep it low.
So, Honorable Chairperson, instead of talking about Jan van Riebeck, in some instances, we actually need to talk about Rip van Drenkel, because we seem to have forgotten or actually stepped through a revolution. Jan van Riebeck is the symbol of colonialism in South Africa. It's a symbol of taking land away from South Africans. It's a symbol of taking our resources away from the people of South Africa. And the day we begin to forget those sorts of things and talk about the exploitation of Black people in South Africa is the day we forget about history itself. We forget about the frontier wars. We forget about the repression. We forget about how people were kept in reserves that became Bantustans a little later. So, Ms. Denner, Honorable Denner, you also failed if you think I failed in your history lesson. Go and read your history books again, please, because history is something that you cannot deny, any one of us. To Honorable Swart, I want to say that the National Treasury will be informed about your suggestions around a rebate on diesel, although I'm not sure whether that will work. And Honorable Kwankwa, Honorable Nkonazi actually addressed some of your issues. But here are some facts. We are going to increase, Transnet will increase the volume of coal being exported from 40 million tons per annum to 63 million tons per annum during this financial year. As far as chrome and magnetite is concerned, it will increase from 9.6 million tons to 15.6 million tons during the course of this financial year by adding more than 150 wagons to the one instance and 160 wagons to the other. As far as iron ore is concerned, 51 million tons per year will be increased to 60 million tons per year. And once we get these locomotives moving from China, that will improve even further, Chairperson. As far as manganese is concerned, there are a whole lot of new points of departure, both within Nelson Mandela Bay, but also via East London and Saldanha. And there will be almost 1 million ton increase in the export of manganese itself. I don't have the time, but we can give you chapter and verse on the number of cases that have been referred to professional bodies, one from Denel, one from Eskom, 4 from SAA, and 1 from Transnet, in our quest to fight corruption, not just talk about it, through these entities. Delinquent directors, as far as the delinquency of directors is concerned, 73 former board members and executives are implicated in this, 10 from Denel, 13 from Eskom, 25 from SAA, and 25 from Transnet. I hope none of you are involved in that. As far as Eskom is concerned, contracts amounting to 14.7 billion rands were subject to state capture, and approximately 4.8 billion rands has been claimed against former contractors. And there are lots of numbers in that regard. If we take law enforcement agencies investigating 12 criminal cases in Transnet, 56 billion rands is affected by this. But in conclusion, Chairperson, if you allow me, because of the interruptions, the DPE and the ANC follow the philosophy of Nelson Mandela, who says, I am fundamentally an optimist. Whether that comes from nature or nurture, I cannot say. Part of being optimistic is keeping one's head pointed towards the sun, one's feet moving forward. There are many dark moments when my faith in humanity, like now, was sorely tested, but I would not and could not give myself up to despair. That way lays defeat and death. As the ANC, we will succeed in getting the SOEs right. Thank you very much.